All right, our regularly scheduled council meeting September 20th is in session. Would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Brinkman.
Here.
Councilmember Cernanek.
Present.
Councilmember Cole.
Here.
Councilmember Stallman.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Present.
Councilmember Trujillo.
Here.
Would you all rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? All right, changes to the agenda. Council, I think we need to add an item 9B, which is a executive session for advice from an attorney. And item 9C, which is a discussion on city attorney. Any objections? Any other changes? Then the agenda is approved as amended. Minutes for the September 6th City Council meeting.
I do.
Jim.
Yes, on page 12 of the minutes, down under the Dr. Cog report that I was giving, starting at line 385 through 388 should be deleted. That's all a mistake, so it should not be in there.
Okay. Anything else? Then those minutes are approved as modified. Guest citizens.
City employees.
Mayor, I do have one new city employee,
I'm
if
sorry,
that's
yes.
okay. And I don't know, I got here a little bit late. James Patton, are you here? James, stand up. James is a new police dispatcher, and both of his parents, his dad, Jim Sr., is a police detective, and his mother, Debbie, works in the courts. And James, I'm not sure I'd want to go to work at a place where both my parents are going to watch how I'm doing. But he's a Littleton guy, and he's attended CSU for a few years, and he's looking for a career in law enforcement. And he's our new police dispatcher, and as you know, that's a very, very busy operation. We get about 40,000 calls a year. So he's going to be real busy, and we're happy to have him. It's a high-skill job, lots of public contact, lots of excited people calling in on 911. So we're happy to welcome James to the Littleton family.
Welcome, James. Hope you have a great time here, and you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. But thank you for coming down and being introduced. Appreciate it. Any other employees?
No, sir.
Okay. Now that brings us to our guest citizen, Bill Brookfield. And
I think Commander Brandt from the PD is going to make this presentation, Mayor.
okay.
Mayor, members of council, we're here to present an award to Bill for an involvement that he had in an incident in which he received a challenge coin from one of our sergeants. Just a little background on our challenge coin. This was a new program that Chief Coogan instituted recently. Challenge coins are issued to each one of our officers, and basically they originated in the military. However, they've become extremely popular with police departments, fire departments, and fraternal organizations. They're a small coin or medallion that have that bears usually the organization's insignia, their emblem, or in our case, it has our badge on one side and a picture of our patch on the other side. They're an excellent means of team building and create a sense of belonging to each of the members that carry them. Now, these coins are typically carried on person at all times in case they're challenged. Hence, that's where they came up with the challenge coin, to prove their membership within the organization. However, in today's culture, they're also used as rewards for outstanding service or performance of duty. Having a coin is an honor as it symbolizes belonging to an elite organization. And Bill received one of these coins from Sergeant Buzz Sutherland in an incident that he was involved in, and we have an appreciation award that I'll read from that will tell you exactly what that incident was and the heroic act that Bill was involved in. The men and women of the Littleton Police Department gratefully acknowledge your quick response in helping a 2-year-old that was not breathing on August 27, 2011. While the child's mother, Anna, called 911, you administered CPR per the instructions Anna received from dispatch on how to perform this life-saving technique. When Sergeant Buzz Sutherland arrived on the scene, he then took over CPR until another officer and Littleton Fire Rescue arrived and the child was transported to Littleton Hospital. Later, when the officers checked on the little boy, he was doing fine. Sergeant Sutherland believes that because of your quick actions, this child is alive today. Your commitment and willingness to assist with this unfortunate incident exemplifies the special spirit you proudly show your community. On behalf of the Littleton Police Department, we sincerely thank you and commend your heroic efforts in the award of the Littleton Police Challenge Coin by Sergeant Buzz Sutherland.
I neglected to recognize that Boy Scout Troop 685 is here from Abiding Hope Lutheran Church. I assume getting a merit badge on governance. Okay, good. Welcome.
And Mayor, I think there's another troop here from Littleton. Is it Littleton Baptist?
That's correct, 114.
114, great. Good to have you here too. Thank you.
Part of their criteria is that we do something controversial.
Well, there's nothing more controversial than BIGA. So come down, you controversial group of people, and give us a report on your trip to our sister city, please.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, my name is Larry Borger. I'm one of the delegates that was part of the BIGA Littleton Sister City Exchange. And let me ask the other members that are here that were on that trip or have been on previous trips to Australia to identify themselves. Just raise your hands. Okay. I'll do this part and then you do that part. Okay.
Good evening. It's our pleasure to come back and to give you a little bit of information about the trip that we had this year in March and April. It was unique, as you will see, as a part of a real quick slide show here that Larry's going to give to you. And then we have a presentation for you from council to council. And then there is another plaque that we want to share with you that was given from club to club. So I'll let Larry do the slides first.
Okay.
This is Jan Brousseau, even though she didn't identify herself.
Sorry.
Okay.
Most of them know who I am. I apologize.
The delegation was 26 people from Littleton that went to BIGA, went to Australia from the 9th through the 27th of March. 2 weeks of that was actually spent in BIGA. And before we got to BIGA, we had a chance to tour around just a little bit. And if you want to take a look at the slides, the first one is we landed in Brisbane and took a bus north from Brisbane to Fraser Island, which is a large sand island located just south of the Great Barrier Reef on the Coral Sea at the north end of Australia. Anyway, this is a picture of our delegation marching through a rainforest in the rain. We thought that was entirely appropriate that we selected the opportunity to do that. From there, we spent a short period of time in Sydney. This is a picture of the iconic Sydney Opera House that I'm sure you would all recognize. We arrived outside Bega in the rain. This is a picture through the front of the bus, and that's a police escort that we had. They escorted us red light and siren into town. We had a reception that says, if you'll notice, welcome little Tonians, which we thought was kind of interesting.
Guys, hobbits or something?
Which included the mayor and other dignitaries, and at that point we were assigned to families so that each couple or each individual stayed with a host family for 1 week, and then we changed halfway through. One of the interesting things was that we had an official state dinner. This is the head table at the state dinner with the Brissot's on the left in the picture. The fellow in the center was the MC, who was a radio personality. Behind him is Tony McDermott, who was the head of the Bega Sister City group. Tony Allen, the mayor, and his wife. And then on the right, a fellow named Niels Marquardt, who was the U.S. Consul General of the United States to Australia. This is a state dinner. I mean, it was a pretty big deal. And he had some remarks. Because it was the 50th anniversary of the Bega-Littleton Sister City Exchange, they had prepared a cake, and you can't see it, but it says 50th Anniversary Exchange on the top of the cake, and they're doing a ceremonial group cutting. About half that group is Australian, the other half is part of our delegation. The next day, we dedicated a memorial in a facility they call Columbine Park. The Columbine incident is a very big thing in Australia, and in Bega they do a lot to recognize it. This was a park that involved an old marble stone that had been placed before, but it involved a new plaque commemorating the Columbine incident, and then new trees that were planted, one for each of the victims of the Columbine event. So again, it's Tony McDermott and Niels Marquardt, the Consul General of the United States, and the mayor and Jan with this plaque. Again in the rain. It rained almost every day we were there, and there'll be more about that later. The presentation that we're going to give you tonight came from a Bega Shire Council meeting. You'll remember Chip Bolendonk, the student ambassador who presented a PowerPoint presentation to Council. He gave that same presentation to various school groups and organizations in Bega, and he's here giving it to the members of the Bega Shire Council. Just a word about Chip. He's an outstanding young man, and he well represented the youth of the United States to the people there. We can't say enough good things about him. And Jim, I would also point out, the fellow on the left with the yellow tie is the equivalent of the city manager in Bega. I didn't have an opportunity to speak with him all that much, but the thing that he had is a ribbon around his neck and a gold medal that somehow was some kind of badge of office. And I think that somehow you should have approached the council that you need a badge of office if you're
Need you to negotiate for me,
going to
Larry.
do that.
If he wanted robes and a crown.
It was pretty impressive. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who it came from. I mean, it's a picture of the Queen in the back there, but I think he actually was a state official, if you will, assigned to Bega. Anyway, Mayor Clark had prepared a letter, and I drew the assignment to read that letter to the City Council or the Shire Council, so that's a copy of the letter. Then they made a presentation that they wanted us to give to you, which is a photograph of the Bega Valley. that shows the city and some of the surrounding area. And you're wondering, I know, why I'm here as the delegate when we've got the head of the delegation. We had Vaughn Gardenier, who was a former mayor, who was probably more high-ranking official than I was. They sort of shanghaied me coming in the door. I was just going to go to the meeting, and they said, "Hi, you're official." And I said, "Okay, be glad to do that." It turns out the reason for that is they had a tremendous flood that morning, the night before, actually. And as we mentioned, it had been raining all week. And these are some pictures of the flood. This may bring back memories of the 1965 flood in Littleton. It was almost that bad. It hadn't flooded to that extent since the 1970s. And it was the same sort of flood. It was a rainstorm in the mountains, came down the Bega River, which is normally about the same size as the Platte. But you can see here it's easily a mile across there to the other side. This is a fellow that's just hating life with his car at a gas station that didn't make it out. This is an example of the debris on the road the day after. And this is kind of interesting. It's an aerial photograph that shows, you can see where the river is in the center of the photo, but you can still see there's water on both sides, roughly a mile on either side of the river. And this is 2 days after the flood. The water hadn't receded yet. At any rate, that's why they couldn't be there, and we thought it was an interesting connection. This is the actual group. There were 25 adults and Chip Bolendock. We referred to him as Chip and the 25 grandparents. But you see, we all had uniforms and official name tags and that sort of thing. And we did our best to try to represent what we thought was the best of Littleton, and I think did a good job. If I can say parenthetically, the Australians love the United States. We didn't go anywhere that we weren't treated like royalty, and it seemed like we had a party almost every other night. I hope I'm not divulging state secrets, but Australians love to party. They really do. At any rate, that's our group, and with that, I'll turn it over to Jen.
I thank Larry for pulling those slides together. It really made an impact. And the reason it was so unique was because of the flood. Now, those of you that were around for the 2008 Western Welcome Week when they were here last, remember the rain? And they were such great sports, marching in the rain. Everybody was soaked, but they laughed, had a great time with us. We made sure everybody got back to their respective places where they were staying, had hot showers and a hot lunch. But it was incredible. So this was their way. They kept reminding us of paying us back for that Western Welcome Week parade. On behalf of Larry and the council down in Bega, we were so appreciative that Larry was there. We could not get across the river where we were staying in Tarraganda, just the outside of Bega, and there were many people who could not. They even closed the school that day. We had a school visit and the council meeting, and we couldn't make either one of them. But it was very interesting and a real unique experience. But we have this beautiful picture here for you that's been framed. It is presented to do as what you would like.
Yes, hopefully you'll find a place to prominently display it. But it's, as I say, it's a photograph of Bega, New South Wales.
Oh, absolutely. And then I wanted to quickly share with you from club to club, they gave us this plaque that I wanted to share it with you because they asked me to make the request on their behalf that if at all possible, this be hung with the other original Aboriginal art outside of council. If there is not a place for it, then they have asked that we auction it off in our club or whatever and have it be displayed in someone's home. But if their first request is that maybe you will find a spot that it can either go into the showcase or around the showcase with the other original Aboriginal art. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you very much again. Both Bega and Littleton really appreciate your support, and it's been wonderful having you all involved when they're here and when we go there. So it's always been a wonderful, wonderful time. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
All right, next we have State Representative Kathleen Conte. And Bob? Bob, would you come down, please?
Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here with you and to be able to read this tribute on behalf of the state of Colorado. Some time ago, I read an article in the paper that inspired me that this was well worth documenting and well worth tributing, and so I requested this from the Speaker of the House. And it is in honor of our wonderful police department here in Littleton. 3 new trees dedicated to commemorate the lives of Master Police Officer Chris Groats, Lieutenant Black, and Dispatch Supervisor Kathy Christ were planted on the grounds of the Highlands Ranch Law Enforcement Training Facility. The trees will grow and prosper, as will the tight-knit Littleton Police Department. The members of the Colorado House of Representatives are proud to pay tribute to the Littleton Police Department for their commitment to honor the memories of their fellow officers and also for the dedication shown by the officers in the Department of Protection of their community. On request, Representative Kathleen Conte, given this 5th day of August and signed by Frank McNulty, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Thank you, Representative Conte. Next, we have Mickey Kemp with a presentation from the Littleton Police Citizens Academy Alumni Association. And that's a mouthful to say.
Thank you, Council, for letting us do this. Jim Woods, we need you up here.
Not a rope up there, is it?
Let me
I don't trust Norm.
Let me state this. This is from anonymous and past employees. Jim has always been a great supporter of the community efforts which the department put forth, and the Citizens Academy is a crown jewel of that effort. Jim has always been very supportive of the Citizens Academy. He was an early advocate for community policing, CP. When we created a CP class for the Arapahoe Community College, Jim was the deputy city manager. He and Andy McMenemy asked why the Littleton PD was not involved in CP. Craig Camp was the chief at the time, and when Gary Moss came on as the chief, CP was one of the things he was out to accomplish. He understood the value of community involvement for the department on a level much deeper than crime prevention programs or DARE. The Citizens Academy filled that role. And as it became the basis for police department's volunteer program, his support demonstrated that he understood the value of volunteerism for the department and the community. He also found that he was a good listener and would take the time out of his crazy schedule whenever we needed his input and thoughts. That was important to us as employees. It helped foster a sense that everyone was a valuable member of the city government. This has continued past the city employees to the volunteers and fellow citizens. Jim has always had an open policy and always been willing to take the time to listen, give advice, tender input without being overbearing, controlling, or condescending in any way, shape, or form. Quiet, reserved, but informed beyond words. He is a great example of what true public service is and all about, and has been a dedicated public servant to the people of Littleton. He is truly a friend for life to the Littleton Police Citizen Academy and all of Littleton. We will truly miss him in our Littleton City Government, LPC AAA.
We're not done. City Council, my name is Rich Krenning, President of the Littleton Police Citizen Academy Alumni Association. And we have a certificate that we would like to present to Jim also. So the certificate says September 20th, 2011, in recognition and appreciation for his continued and unwavering support of the Littleton Police Citizen Academy, the Littleton Police Citizen Academy Alumni Association hereby conveys to Jim Woods a lifetime membership in the LPC AAA. Jim?
Let me just say quickly, this is really a flattering honor, but let me say that the success of the Citizens Academy, as we all know, really belongs to the men and women of the Littleton Police Department who enthusiastically love to share their knowledge and their expertise with our citizens. So, my role has just been mainly one of a cheerleader, and I did get a little bit of criticism from Mickey. I attended 23 of the 24 graduations. I did get a little criticism from Mickey that my speech every time was getting a little bit old, and he wanted me to come up with some new material. So there was a little bit of carping from the back row. So the men and women of the police department who participate enthusiastically, they love to share their knowledge, and then the citizens who give up their time, 14 weeks every Thursday night, and then the alumni, which have just been a tremendous support group. And for me, it's really just been fun, because as you know, attending the graduations, families come, support groups, and I would say if there was one constant comment that I heard from all the people that we met with over the years was, it went so fast. They just couldn't believe that they wanted more. It was so exciting and so interesting, and I think that's a tribute to our great, the skill level of our men and women in our police department. So thank you very much. Like I said, I was mainly a cheerleader, but I was very happy to be a part of it, and I'm tremendously honored to be associated with our men and women in the police department and our Littleton citizens. It doesn't get any better. Thank you.
Thank you all for that nice honor. That was very nice and generous of you. Appreciate it. All right, that brings us to unscheduled public appearances, which is a time for anybody to come down and ask us a question or express an opinion regarding city services, council policies, or anything else of interest. Sure. Oh, come on.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Sherm Steed. I live at 9605 South Flower Way, Littleton, or Trailmark. I moved in, or one of the first families to move in April of 2000, and I watched the community develop from then on. I've been involved in the HOA, or in the Trailmark Metro District, and liaison with South Suburban on a lot of the stuff that went on in the neighborhood. Tonight, though, my remarks are only from me, not from either one of the organizations or any of them. I'd like to review some stuff. After your long meeting 2 weeks ago, I'd like to go through their options and make corrections where they deem necessary. I come from the corporate world, and I put on many presentations, and one of the biggest problems that I had putting on presentations is when other people present or compile the information that may not be accurate. And when somebody in the audience can spot that immediately, that really discredits most of the other presentation, because if minor things are errors, then our major things errors. I'd like to go through the option. The first one was building a station at Trail Mark. A lot of this is assumptions on the first section, and it comes down to the main one. Our total calls in Trail Mark are 45 a year. If you build a station there in Trail Mark and dedicate it for Trail Mark, it would end up being approximately $48,500 a call. Now, there is not a citizen in Trail Mark that would allow our tax dollars to be spent on a 724 fire station with a truck and an ambulance for us. Now, we're selfish maybe, wanting better response, but we want our tax dollars spent correctly. So that is, to me, is something that nobody would ever expect. Now, sure, we'd get an ISO rating of 3, and et cetera, and there isn't an awful lot down there, except it says it would be hard to get the citizens to vote for that kind of a setup, and I agree with that. Option number 2 was 4, but they put it up to 2, is a map showing the different locations of Littleton fires. Now, the thing that probably is very sad about that, when I received the options, the city of Littleton, the city is in red ink and very, you can see it. But when we received the map, it's gray. I can't tell where the city is or anything like that. So what's presented to us doesn't give us any colors that we can look at the map and determine where the places are. Other than we can probably guess where the fire stations are. Option 3, they put the automatic aid agreement. And you go through and tell the different costs and everything like that. Anticipated the equivalent mill levies from West Metro. We can't verify this stuff. And some of the things sound pretty reasonable. The one thing that I wanted to bring out is when you start comparing stuff, Trail Mark has 799 residents. Now we have 801 addresses. The 2 extra addresses are for service from Centennial Water, so that when they send a repair guy out, they can find where the water comes in to our community and stuff like that, and they can work on stuff. You only get taxes from 799. So that's the correct count in our community. Now, We're talking about maybe hundreds of dollars to your millions, but it does make a difference. I didn't go through and look at a lot of stuff on the automatic aid because I can't obtain some of this information, and we're relying that it would be accurate. The thing is, one of them says the disadvantage would require cuts in city services, but you didn't list any. So I don't know if you're cutting the library or the police department or the fire, you know. And you have some city objections to that. And then the next one, finally, 4, is being detached from Littleton. One of the questions I have on that, if you detach us or we detach you, would you, all that ground go back to Jefferson County open space? You know, I don't know, or Jefferson County anyway. So anyway, I would look at this. I don't know who would pay for it. So anyway, you would require all of the citizens of Littleton to vote on it, and I don't know when they can. One of the things on this, it's in here, luckily. I cannot check all of the mill levies, but when you say that we would have West Metro mills an increase of 13.6 mills, that may be correct. Jefferson County Law Enforcement Agency, 3.2 mills, would be correct. Jefferson County Library District, we already pay. Foothill Park and Rec, we don't need, because South Suburban would be there. South Suburban, Ken Carl, and Denver Water were acquired by the developer, not the city. And the city come in afterwards, and consequently those things would stay with our community. I verified these. So actually, when you get all down, we would have a mill increase of 6.6, excuse me, we'd lose 6.662 because we'd only lose City of Littleton. And we would pick up a couple of others, so we'd have a tax increase of approximately 10.322 mills. Now, one of the things that made me immediately look at this, the financial impact, which Mr. Woods says his department accumulated, said our properties for 2010 per the county were $25,104,000. Now, if you look at the county and ask them, it's $25,822,000. Now you say, you know, that's not much difference. If this is wrong, and this is public records, then can I take any of the other being correct? You know, like I said, the hardest thing for anybody putting on a presentation is to find out the information that you're presenting is incorrect. I've had this happen to me over the years, but as long as I can look at it, I'll work very close to make sure it's accurate. Now, a couple of other things. Any of these proposals are not solving our problem, really. Our problem is trying to get an ambulance there. The fire truck, we've had, what, 2 or 3 fires. They said the ISO rating is going to go from a 3 to a 9. There's a major insurance person who lives in our neighborhood that says our ISO rating in his company is not going to change because they go by the fire hydrants in the neighborhood, and that keeps it at a 3. My insurance company pays no attention to ISO. All I can say to the Chief Mullen, just like his person told him, you better shop. Because ISO is not my problem or the biggest problem in our community. It's still the response time. Let's see what else I had. Anyway, that's all I have, and I appreciate the opportunity. I didn't bring handouts because you already have them. I'm sure with you writing your notes down, you can correct your copies. And going forward, I hope the information we receive as citizens will be correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherm. Anyone else? All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are there items that can be adopted by a simple motion. They're normally non-controversial. Any item on the consent agenda can be removed by any council person for any reason. And the first item, 7A, is a motion to approve a contract between the City of Littleton and Integral Recoveries to collect unpaid Littleton municipal court obligations. This contract would allow us to hire a company that would then go out and basically do a debt collection or overdue fines collection. Item 7B is a resolution of the City Council approving a mutual aid agreement. If you can read that by title, please.
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Littleton, Colorado, approving a mutual aid agreement with Jefferson County.
This mutual aid agreement is actually with the Sheriff's Department. Between the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department, the Sheriff's Department coordinates fire activities in Jeffco, fire activities that occur outside of a particular fire protection district. And so this would do a mutual aid agreement between them and the City of Littleton so that if either entity had needs for equipment or personnel, the other entity would come and assist them. Item 7C is another resolution approving the Highline Business Improvement District operating plan.
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Littleton, Colorado, approving the 2012 operating plan and budget for the Highline Business Improvement District.
Highline Business Improvement District operating plan must be approved by the city each year. This plan has very few changes from previous plans. This resolution approves that plan. Item 7D, which is, I'm going to pull. So that leaves us 7A through 7C.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve consent agenda items A, B, C.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve consent agenda items A, B, C. Any discussion? Thank you.
Vote is 7 in favor. The motion is approved.
Okay.
Can't write and move my ticket at the same time.
That's okay. 7D, would you read that by title, please, before we get off on it?
This is a resolution of the City of Littleton supporting the Denver Regional Council of Governments comprehensive joint application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Sustainable Community Regional Planning Grant Program.
Jim, do you want to do a little presentation, or do you want me to just talk about why I pulled it?
Talk about why you pulled it.
Okay.
I think the presentation was adequate.
Okay. My concern is the primary function of DRCOG is as a metropolitan planning organization, which is to do planning that's required for the metropolitan area in order to get federal matching transportation dollars. DRCOG allocates those dollars based on a point system unless it's changed, and part of that point system is conformance to the MetroVision plan. My concern is if we start to modify the MetroVision plan to take into account livability principles that don't pertain to Littleton, then that puts Littleton at a disadvantage for receiving transportation dollars because that changes the Metro Vision Plan to include criteria that we don't comply with. And so I'm going to vote against this because I don't want to start down the path of getting a grant that's then used to fund a process of updating the Metro Vision Plan to create activities or land use in Littleton that I don't approve of.
Now I would like to respond. I didn't know what your concern was. The grant is to provide planning services for the metro area. And the planning services would include such things as how you value your community, how you value your neighborhood. And we do that in Littleton, so I think it is going to apply to us. It's going to also talk about how you work with economic competitiveness. And we are in competition, whether anybody wants to believe it or not, but we're in competition with everybody else in the metro area. And so that's part of the other thing that's part of this. But the grant primarily is going to be doing planning for the next few years on projects that will be coming forth with DRCOG, primarily be centered around the light rail stations as much as anything else, light rail lines, and doing catalytic projects as to what those lines may be able to help an agency develop. So it is a planning grant. It just happens to have our Metro Vision. It has 6 livability principles in it, and that is also part of what was presented in the grant itself.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah, would you clarify what you're saying about the light rail line?
There are proposed in the grant to look at catalytic projects along the light rail lines, and they were all ranked as to high and medium and low priorities as to which ones would be eligible. Littleton is probably going to be on low priority because we already have a light rail stations at
Oh, so adding stations, what you mean, catalytic projects, more stations?
around the station.
Around existing ones or more stations?
It'd be around whatever station would be chosen. It could be either one of ours. But I think we're on a low priority because we're not an urban center. We're not an urban corridor. And I think they're going to get the money before we would.
Well, what would we get money for if we got it? I mean, what kind of things?
Depends on what we would apply for.
Oh, so we would get to decide what we want to apply for with this?
That's correct.
Okay.
And there'd be a set of criteria in which you had to meet in order to make the application.
Okay.
Who sets the criteria?
The DRCOG board.
Okay.
And Doug, just in hearing some of the discussions around this at the DRCOG level in this, I don't see it as inconsistent with Littleton's values and very consistent with some of the purposes of DRCOG. There is an existing list of sustainability issues that is in front of DRCOG, and it's actually one of their 3 primary objectives is dealing with sustainability.
Any further discussion? You want to make a motion?
I move the resolution in support of DRCOG's comprehensive joint application to HUD's Sustainable Communities Regional Planning Grant be approved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution for the joint application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Sustainability Committee's Regional Planning Grant Program. Council ready to vote?
The vote is 5 in favor with Councilman Clark and Councilwoman Brinkman voting no. The motion carries.
All right, that brings us to item 8A, which is ordinance on second reading, adding city code section related to unauthorized parking on private property.
This is an ordinance of the City of Littleton, Colorado, adding City Code Section 9-1-5 related to unauthorized parking on private property.
Council, I'll present this very quickly to you. In 2004, as part of an ordinance to update the model traffic code, and the model traffic code is a big compilation code that comes to you on a calendar basis. It's sort of similar to the electrical code and some others, so this is usually a large piece of work. And in looking at that, doing some research on it, it appears that a section of the code was inadvertently deleted when we went back. This came to light when a new training officer, the parking officer, was in training and tried to find this section of the code and then found it had been repealed. What this basically does is it allows a private property owner, I know people who may see around town in some of the commercial lots and some of the apartment complexes, they'll have parking for these customers only, and this portion of it, if they have an abusive situation, it allows them to call our police department and have that enforced. It's not heavily used. I pointed out in the council communication, I think in the last 2 years, I think there were 25 citations issued in 2010. I think we were up to 12 or 13 this year. In talking with the police department, though, we do get requests for it. It's usually when a circumstance, a property owner, a restaurant owner, an apartment project owner feels like their private parking is being used in an abusive manner. We did go back and researched both the council communication from the 2004 council meeting and the minutes. We could find absolutely no reference to this section at all, no discussion of it. There was some discussion about handicap parking, so we really came up with a total blank. It doesn't seem like it was discussed at all, and the only thing it's a fairly comprehensive code, so it may have been inadvertently repealed. Anyway, we're recommending to you that you reinstate it. As I said, it's not heavily used, but in talking with PD, the private property owners who do call seem to appreciate it. You do have to go through a process. They have to sign the complaints, and we do get a few of these a year. Like I said, and the people who do call in seem to appreciate the service. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions for Jim? So the net result is, with this in place, if somebody is parking inappropriately on private property, they can get a $25 ticket rather than getting towed.
Yes. Yeah.
As an example.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right.
All right. This is a question.
Yeah. So they get a ticket, and then what?
Then they get a ticket.
Then they stay there another 30 days?
I'm sorry?
Would they stay there another 30 days with just one ticket?
I don't know the answer to that, ma'am. I really don't. I don't. I can't. I would suspect that a property owner who had called, if the ticket sat there for more than 2 or 3 days, I don't think a property owner would wait 30 days. But I can't give you chapter and verse of.
Well, that's okay. So I mean, the initial piece is the ticket, and then...
The initial piece, yes, and the idea is that you do have, these private property owners at least do have some enforcement authority, and PD is usually willing to go and assist them when these matters come up.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, there's a public hearing, but there's no names on the roster. However, if anybody wants to address us on this issue, you can come down now. How about a motion then, please?
I move that the public hearing be closed, the ordinance to prohibit unauthorized parking on private be approved on second reading, posted on the city's website at the Littleton City Center, Bemis Library, and Municipal Courthouse, and that the president be authorized to affix his signature thereto.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the ordinance on second reading. Jim?
You know, I think Peggy's got a point, because it doesn't say in here it's per day. And maybe we need to take a look at that for an additional amendment sometime in the foreseeable future.
I'll be happy to ask PD, and the city attorney has assisted us significantly on this, so we can go back and look at that. And your concern is repeat offenses that might drag out, and does the code adequately address that? And we'd be happy to have staff look at that.
Please.
And actually, there is a general provision in the code that says every day is a new and distinct violation.
So we don't need an amendment in this then, Suzanne?
No, and oftentimes you'll see a code violation ticket written from the 1st to the 31st, and that'll be 31 counts. So each day is a new count.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Which at $25 a shot adds up pretty quick.
Better get towed.
Yeah. In that case, any other discussion? Council ready to vote?
The vote is 7 in favor. The motion's approved.
All right, that brings us to item 8B, which is also an ordinance on second reading.
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Littleton, Colorado, establishing costs for public hearings. Council, this was brought after a study session that you all had with the licensing authority back on June 14th. The discussion was around the length of the hearings and whether or not we could recoup some costs. We did do surveys from around some different cities, and they were between, I think, 200 and 400. It seemed like with the staff time dedicated, on average, our costs would be around 250. These would only be imposed if a show cause was sustained.
Aren't you talking about 9A for that one? Because this is the fines in lieu of suspension.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Okay.
Okay, we're on 8B.
Yes.
Oh, let me read it. An ordinance of the City of Littleton, Colorado, amending Title III, Chapter 2 of the Alcoholic Beverage Code. Again, Council, this came from that same study session with regard to collecting fines in lieu of suspensions. Right now, the code only provides for a show cause determination resulting in a suspension. The suspension must actually be served. This particular ordinance would allow a fine to be paid in lieu of suspension if, in fact, the establishment wished to do so. It is limited to first offenses, and I understand there may be an amendment on that.
Can you what?
There may be an amendment on that.
See, because I forewarned her I was going to do an amendment tonight.
All right. Questions?
So this would just be the fine and not, as some jurisdictions do, also an administrative fee?
Well, as the mayor pointed out, I had them in reverse order, so the next one would be the administrative fee.
I'm looking at the amendment, at the attachment, what some other cities do. We're on 8B, right? So
Right.
we're all on the same page. So in the attachment, the research, it shows a couple of places, well, one anyway, has an administrative fee in addition to the fine.
Right, and that's what we would be trying to do in 9A.
Okay, so where am I missing it saying that in the ordinance itself?
It doesn't, because the ordinance only speaks to the fine in lieu, but the chart speaks to both. The chart speaks to both 8B and 9A. So the chart shows you which jurisdictions allow a fine in lieu of suspensions, under what kinds of circumstances, and then the very end of that chart also shows which jurisdictions attach fees to a fine in lieu. So the survey was done to cover both.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. This is also a public hearing. There are no names on this roster either. However, you can come down and address us on this issue if you want to. Seeing none, let's get a motion, and then we can discuss and amend away.
I move that the ordinance to amend Littleton City Code to permit fines in lieu of suspension for first offenses be approved on second reading, and that the council president be authorized to affix his signature thereto.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the ordinance amending the section to permit fines in lieu of suspension. Discussion, Jim.
I'm going to move to amend the language that is being inserted. It starts out, for first offenses only, a liquor license may be subject to a fine.
On line
It's line
36.
36 of the ordinance. I move to remove for first offenses only from this section.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded on line 36 to remove the words "for first offenses only."
The reason why I did that is because I have a problem with the city of Littleton, or any city as far as that goes, adopting rules and regulations that are contrary to state law. And the state law allows you to have repeat offenders, but they have to be 2 years apart. So it's already covered in state law that you can have a repeat offender, but if they're 2 years apart. And I think what happens generally is that you get changes in personnel, you get changes in ownership, you get changes in managers, and all like this. So what's going to be a first offense only? Is it going to be each time they change managers, each time they change ownerships? So I think just complying with state law that allows it to occur each 2 years, if that's the way it would work out, by removing for first offenses only, it would do that.
Any other discussion?
Just a question, could we verify that? Is that indeed, Suzanne, what that section 12-47-601 speaks to, a 2-year re-up?
I think Wendy's looking it up. Aren't you? You not? Oh. I don't have my statute book with me. It's 12-47-601.
If you look on the council communication under the first page, under the Colorado Revised Statutes, it quotes the parts of 12-47-601 that's part of that law. And the third one down there talks about within the prior 2 years.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Council ready to vote? The motion is to amend the ordinance by taking out the words "for first offenses only" on line 36.
The vote is 7 in favor. The motion's approved.
Okay. That brings us back to the now amended main motion, which is to approve the amended ordinance. Discussion on that? Council ready to vote?
The vote is 7 in favor. The motion's approved.
Okay. All right, that brings us to the resolution that we talked about before. I want to read it by title again, just please.
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Littleton, Colorado, establishing costs for public hearings. And these would be the administrative fees that Councilmember Cole referred to.
And they're not attached to this one, though.
Right, the chart is only attached to the first one,
Okay.
but I can tell you we looked around different municipalities. I think some of them aren't even included on here. Because I know that Aurora does it, and I don't think Aurora's included. So they range somewhere between 200 and 400 in allocating our staff time and the average amount of overtime, et cetera. It was determined that 250 would be an appropriate cost.
Jim.
I'm going to oppose this. I think that they pay a license fee to the city to operate within the city. And it's going to be looked upon by the public, I think, as a way to raise revenue. And I don't think that's what the image that we would like to have. So regardless of what we came up with in study session, I'm not going to support this tonight.
Peggy?
Yes, I'm opposing this too. I'm not seeing why we would charge somebody for a hearing before the licensing board and they have to pay all the fees, even if they're found innocent. When we don't do that, if somebody's found innocent, at least as far as I know, in regular court, I can appreciate encouraging people to to admit to what they've done wrong to avoid going to a hearing, but this does not seem the way to do it. Maybe what we need is, if they're found guilty, they pay all that stuff, but not this way. I can't support this.
Any other discussion? I actually agree with what Councilman Taylor said. I will be opposing this also.
Would the proper thing to be to make the motion and then vote yea or nay on the motion?
Yes, I think that'd be easier. Is anybody in favor of this and therefore wants to make the motion?
You want me to make the motion?
Yeah. Vote it down.
I will move the resolution to charge the actual costs and expenses to the licensee for public hearings of the licensing authority be approved, and the council president be authorized to fix his signature thereto.
And to move the process forward, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution that everybody wants to vote against. Discussion? All right, it's down that you want to do, I think.
The vote is 7 against. The motion fails.
Don't see that too often.
No. Okay, that brings us to item 9B, which is an executive session. If you read that motion, please. Yes.
I move that City Council convene an exec session pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-402, paren 4, subsection B, for legal advice.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for getting legal advice. This takes 5 votes. Council ready to vote?
The vote is 6 in favor, with Councilman Trujillo voting no. The motion's approved.
Okay, we will be coming back after that executive session and conducting more business. However, this may be 45 minutes or an hour, or perhaps longer in executive session. So back in session. Brings us to item 9C, which is a discussion on the city attorney.
Council make a motion.
Okay.
Over the last several weeks, the council has been working with the city attorney to address performance issues and her future role with the city. Through this process, council's collective loss of confidence in the city attorney and her judgment has been reinforced. Accordingly, I hereby move that the council terminate the employment of the city attorney effective today, September 20th, 2011.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to terminate the city employee. Discussion? Council ready to vote?
The vote is 5 in favor of the motion, with Councilman Cernanek and Councilman Trujillo voting no. The motion carries.
Okay. Brings us to item 10A. Thank you. 10A is approval of licensing authority appointments. In July, 2 members of the licensing authority resigned. City clerks Hefner completed the recruitment for 2 licensing authority members. I believe we had 10 people that we interviewed, and the council has picked 2 of those. Do a motion, please.
I move that Chris Forrest, alternate 1, with the term to expire 2014, and Ann Mather, alternate 2, with the term to expire 2013, be appointed to serve on the Licensing Authority Board.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Chris Forrest and Ann Mather. Discussion?
Just one item. I certainly appreciate all of those that applied, and was a great set of candidates, and really do appreciate their taking the time on their part to come and have some discussion with us, and hope it doesn't destroy any of their interests in serving with the city.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that we had an outstanding group of candidates that applied. All righty.
Could I ask a question under that item, under the board commissions?
Mm-hmm.
So are we ready, not right this second, are we ready to appoint, to fill the vacancies on fine arts since we still have,
We haven't been asked.
pardon?
We have not been asked by the chair to do that.
But we expect that to be forthcoming, I think.
Well, not sure. The first vacancy was considered by the Fine Arts Committee at the last meeting, and the discussion was to hold off pending new round of appointments in the beginning of the year. The second the second resignation then came in very recently and has not been considered by the Fine Arts Committee, so I cannot tell you at this point that there's been a request.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
The vote is 7 in favor. The motion's approved.
Okay. Reports, Mr. City Manager.
Council, just to give you a heads up, I didn't realize you were going to have a lengthy exec session tonight. So just, I was going to talk a little bit. Kelly and I did a little research today on the proposed new state legislative districts. You may have seen that report's gone to the Colorado Supreme Court. I think I'll just put some information in your packets on Thursday. The House district, for those of you who know where 38 ran, it was kind of an odd district anyway, because it had this long tail that went way out east, but it did keep all of incorporated Littleton within House District 38. The new House District 38 essentially, and we'll put some maps in the packet for you, kind of splits Littleton from about Littleton Boulevard north, goes into a different House district. So just about everything in both the northwest and northeast sides of the city will go into a new House District 35 Representative Conti's district will include kind of the south half of Littleton, a portion of Jefferson County, kind of just generally going down Wadsworth, and then snaking out and picking up trail marks. So just wanted you to see it. I can see advantages, disadvantages, but just kind of wanted you to be aware of it. So we'll put some maps in your packets, have you take a look at it. There is a challenge period that Kelly got some information. I just want you to look at it so that you're aware. If you have any questions, we'll try to help you out. But given the lateness tonight, I'll just put it in your packets on Thursday so you kind of get an idea of what the changes might be. Yes, sir.
Just to follow on that, I think the challenge period is relatively short, isn't it? Early October.
Kelly, I was thinking October 7th or 8th.
I think it has to be submitted to the Supreme Court by the 7th. I think I've got it all. I think there's like
it's a couple of weeks off, but it's
and essentially the difference is that for state House districts where Littleton has entirely been within one, although the House district went beyond the city's boundaries,
right.
The city is going to be split, and as far as where the current members are, that House District 35, my recollection is Representative Kagan.
Yeah, and I didn't have enough time, so there could be advantages to us. I don't know at this point in time that it might be an advantage to us to have actually two representatives, that you can talk to. I know, that as you know, if you read the guidelines, those districts are supposed to be as competitive as possible. I believe the Supreme Court issued or somebody had a guideline that there was not to be greater than a 7% differential in the registration and the party registration. So, looking at it, I can see possible advantages or disadvantages, but it will put North Littleton in a different district that might actually end up being to our advantage. I don't know, but I just kind of want to get that. And when we put it in your packets, we'll tie down. Kelly had talked to the attorney who worked for the reapportionment commission, and he sent us some information. So we'll give you those target dates. You may be fine with it, but we wanted you to at least know about it and have a heads up. So, yes, sir.
I was told at a meeting downtown today that we're being put into Congressional District 1 as well.
Oh, I had not seen the federal districting, so.
Yes. I hadn't either until somebody downtown told me that.
So that's all I have, just to give you a heads up, and we'll put this information in your packets on Thursday. And I don't have anything else, Mayor.
And this is your last official meeting, I believe, council meeting, is it not?
It is, yes.
But you are planning to attend my meeting next week, I trust.
I wouldn't miss it for, all the money in Amarillo.
All that tea and
Yeah, but your party, for lack of a better word, is this
Yeah,
Friday.
from what I'm hearing, it's
It'll be tastefully done.
it sounds it's going to be more like a punishment episode.
It's a roast.
So when does the dunking happen? What's the time again?
3 to 5.
It's 3 to 5, but
3 to 5.
be there by 4.
Okay.
Just in case.
I had requested a low-key affair, and I'm being told through the grapevine that was totally, completely ignored.
No, I believe there's no fireworks as far as I know.
All right.
Okay. Jose?
Nothing this evening.
Bruce?
A couple of quick ones. Fine Arts Committee. Kelly, since you're here, there was a question at Fine Arts Committee about potentially with new staff members and new council members coming on and so forth and so on, running a bar at the bottom of the Channel 8 telecast or on the webcam to basically identify who's speaking. I don't know if we do that or if we don't do that. No. During council meetings and planning meetings.
They do.
It does.
Okay, the comment was that they didn't, but like staff members, like if Glenn or Charlie or somebody stands up?
We're all in there.
Great, perfect. Thank you, ma'am. The confirming what I said to Councilmember Cole about being close enough to January, so that was, again, just looking at my notes. Clarification, during the budget process, there was a conversation about restoring Solar 3, the sculpture over by the museum, costing $250,000. When they went back and looked up the actual quote, it was more like 130. Not that that's not a substantial amount of money, but quite a bit less than 250. And then the conversation at Fine Arts was what could be done for less. So in terms of trying to figure out alternatives, both Fine Arts and then I think the museum staff is contemplating or looking into what potential alternative options might look like and for what money. I believe they did the judging for the city calendar picks on the 19th, so that would have been yesterday.
Press release went out today.
Did it? Okay, so I missed that. So great, cool. God, you guys are just all over it. And there was an extensive conversation about Main Street locations for what I'm calling artistic bike racks. So basically bike art that serves as bike racks. And there's been a lot of involvement by the Fine Arts Committee members. I think Lorena Donahue, Charlie Bloston did a tour with them, and I believe you were involved due to the bike ped master plan issues. And so they're looking at alternatives and trying to figure out when it makes sense to encumber how much money. I'll let Jim and Phil discuss, I guess, the Littleton Community Retreat, which focused on Littleton Public Schools. I was there for 2 or 3 hours in the morning, thought it was quite good. And then I had to depart for another meeting. And then very much enjoyed the small business delegation from Japan that was in yesterday morning. I thought that was very interesting and very informative, and very much appreciated their interest in the economic.
Chris Gibbons related to me that they were very lively and engaging people. That he enjoyed them. It was
the Councilmember Cole and the mayor and I sat in on that, as well as Jim Taylor, and really thought it was fascinating. Very quickly, just tradition demands the merchant plug of the week, which is in this case a fine. Exactly, and who can deny tradition? No. The Fine District 4 company, business offering, Colorado Guitar Company, is a full-service guitar shop located in Littleton, 10 miles south of downtown Denver, offering expert guitar repair and restoration, as well as custom J.C. Baxendale guitars that are handmade. In addition to the services, they sell vintage and used guitars, new guitars and accessories, and handmade guitars from other Colorado luthiers, I believe is the correct pronunciation. I'll look at Dr. Cole to nod and assent.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
They are located at 6229 South Santa Fe Boulevard, and the phone number is 303-730-3609. Opens Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6. If you're a guitar aficionado, you should stop in and check them out. Thanks.
I have no report.
Good.
Next week, I'm hosting the Citizens Forum for District 1, and I'm planning to follow a slightly different format, so don't get upset whenever I don't introduce you right at the very beginning. I may do something different. I was at the Chalk Art Festival at ACC on the 10th. It was very well attended, and there's some really great chalk artists out there. And there's lots of talented youth. They had a youth division as well, and there's pretty talented youth there. It was a good breakfast we had with large employers in the community room. Got lots of very positive updates. It's one of the most positive meetings I think we've had in a long time. And they talked almost the entire period of time we had allocated. Littleton Community Retreat, very poorly attended. The financial information was very informative. Special programs were very interesting. And where technology may lead us in LPS's future, I thought was interesting as well. Phil may want to add more when he gets there. And thank you tonight for the endorsement for the DRCOG resolution. Being chair of DRCOG would have been a little embarrassing if we hadn't have done it, so thank you. And that's my report.
Phil.
Yes, The economic development discussion at the South Metro Denver Chamber included Jeff Howell's presentation, some of the things that he's going to focus on, as well as the new chair of the section, particularly looking at strategies both for retention of businesses, and part of that is the identification of businesses that are here, and look to engage the staff somewhat, making sure we've got an identification of the businesses that are here, as well as attraction of businesses certainly on the agenda. So that's a little bit of a notice there. And part of the strategy is also to work around the themes like aerospace and aviation, which has always been a South Metro Denver item, but some other ideas were thrown out like healthcare and others that would say, hey, we have some collections. Those would make some sense to continue to build as well. The South Suburban Park and Rec District, last board meeting, just two items to mention. One is that their budget retreat is set for their administration building. That's on October 3rd and 4th. And the second item is they affirmed the park namings. So that part was items that they took care of. Very exciting Historic Preservation Board meeting last evening. Two certificates of appropriateness were addressed, both on Main Street, one with regard the Havener's building, Rick
Hedrick, the engineering.
Right, Rick Hendricks.
Used to be Vito's shoe shop.
Right.
For people who are more familiar with the older.
Even going back farther. And then the second is with regard the Coors extension that was there. Also, a grant request was approved for the facade at the Old Town Tavern, and I know that the owner of the building is looking to get that initiated now as quickly as possible, possibly even done before the end of the year. So both sides of the streets, two facades could be pretty exciting going on. In addition to that, Margie Clute, one of the board members, is organizing a tour of downtown, the old downtown area in Arvada, which is scheduled for October 22nd. If anyone happened to be interested in that, you can contact Margie directly. They also reviewed the development of proposed code changes to deal with some of the issues that we have seen administratively about how does someone get in the historic districts or where there's a voluntary participation. And then the others is their annual workshop for the board is on October 8th. But also there is a workshop that's going to be held, I think it's going to be at the museum, covering different subjects on October 15th. It's from 10 until about 2, covering things like how do you deal with old windows or windows that are in an old building, as well as tax credit approaches. And that's going to be included in the Littleton report, next one that's coming out. So pay attention to that, but knowing that that time frame is coming up. And then someone who's been very active, very passionate, very high level of energy and participation, and certainly a lot of hours beyond the Historic Preservation Board, is resigning. Steve Ekman, he is moving out of the city, so needs to resign from the board. And talking with Kevin Koenig as the board chairman, they're going to wait until the next full cycle at this point in time. So you can breathe a little bit easier on that one, Wendy. So, and if you hadn't, I would have mentioned about the state legislative districts. So, thank you.
Peggy?
I have just one thing. I have received, I'm not sure if you all have, several complaints about the way we charge late fees, our late fees for the sewer, the wastewater treatment service. So I am requesting, maybe council would agree or not, that we put that on an agenda.
Do we not have a study session where we're going to talk about sewer fees? And I thought we put that up on the budget
I think we did,
Whiteboard.
but I'm suggesting when we discuss that, we reconsider whether we affirm or change or whatever, that we at least reconsider.
If it's part of that discussion, I'm fine with it. To have it as a separate discussion, I'm not fine,
No, that would be
to
fine
do
with
it.
me.
So we'll include late charge fees as part of the bigger, broader sewer rate discussion.
And that could be a very short discussion.
Yeah, I've had no complaints.
Okay.
And you might ask Finance Director, how many they're getting.
Yes, ma'am.
I have no idea why I'm getting them, but I've gotten several. So.
And we'll give you a history, well, there's kind of a whole history of some people, and I've watched it over the years, some people will consciously not pay, and for some reason they choose to have it assessed against their property tax bills, and then there's a whole variety of people who, well, I mailed it and it was the post office's fault and those kinds of things. But we can kind of put together a whole kind of package for you and a little bit of history. It's about 8 to 10% a year, just like clockwork. I mean, it's almost a formula, but we can put together the kind of comments that we get, and then council can consider that.
Well, we had you guys do that last year too, so
Yes, ma'am.
it's just recycling the same stuff. I'd just as soon not see you spend a whole lot of time on it.
It's strictly council's prerogative, but the staff is prepared. They can discuss it and provide any information you want. So just make sure that we can help you out.
Let's see, Peggy's done.
What, pardon?
Are you finished?
I guess I should mention, I got to go to the community retreat in the afternoon, and I thought it was very interesting. In the morning, I went to the community awareness program training. Mickey Kemp is involved in that, and that's recognizing how to recognize signs of terror, potential terrorist activity, and so forth. And I think in the spring they're planning to open that up to general public, I think. So I encourage people to look for that because it's very, very good.
Bill?
And very quickly, with regard to community retreat, they used Google Docs as a real-time parking lot for concepts and ideas that were captured during the day. That's available and can be accessed through the community retreat website. And then one last item kind of community interest is to say this is going to be a hopping place on Thursday evening. There is both a candidate forum led by the League of Women Voters along with a public hearing for the downtown neighborhood plan, both set to commence at 7 p.m.
No, the candidates, it starts at 6
Oh, candidates at 6.
in the community room, and the other at 7 in here.
Oh, good. You would know.
Yeah.
I was just trying to make sure that
Thank you for
Peggy
remembering
didn't
that
have to.
one.
Jim? Dr. Fogg?
The Metro Vision Issues Committee had a presentation on hydraulic fracturing. Its background for tomorrow night's Board of Directors meeting on Lowry, the old Lowry bombing range. And we adopted modifications to the Transportation Advisory Committee's proposal on transit demand management pool project selections. It's highly controversial. It was a split vote at MVIC. I expect a very controversial and split vote tomorrow night at the Board of Directors meeting when it comes to us. The Regional Transportation Committee met this morning and approved the same proposal about the TAC and the TDM to come to the board. They have to prove it prior to getting to us as well. And then we also approved this morning the Job Access Reverse Commute and the new Freedom Funds. We've received a little allocation in both of those, and we had to approve who was going to be receiving those funds. And there's additional federal formula funds coming on board, and we had to receive a report about that this morning. The AAA, the Area Agency on Aging, had a presentation by the Colorado Center on Law and Policy regarding elder issues, and then a status and update reports. And I think you should have gotten a copy of this. This is the breakfast on September 29th, 7:30 a.m. I encourage you to come. This is designed for elected officials, and we really would like to have elected officials there. So I only have 3 of these because it's the only ones I had left this year. Can come, please do. Just need to, I don't know if you even had to call in. I think you do have to call in because they had to have a count.
Okay.
And latest I heard, the count was around 90 some odd.
People, not age.
People, and not a lot of them elected, and that's the whole purpose of this, was getting elected officials there.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Then we are adjourned.
Anybody else wants this?